I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. So we continue now with Alma and the story of the sons of Mosiah and their missionary travels among the Lamanites. Now before I continue, I do want to mention my upstairs neighbors are being really loud. You may hear that in the background. I do apologize for it. But we've been reading about Ammon teaching King Lamoni and his great conversion, the conversion of many people in the land of Ishmael. They establish a church, they organize themselves, all that stuff's going on. Now we must ask, what's going on with the rest of the sons of Mosiah and their brethren in their travels? Remember, they all separated. We've been reading about Ammon. This is still in the first year of the reign of the Judges, about 90 BC. So what was going on with Aaron, Himni, and I can't remember their names now, but what was going on with the rest of the sons of Mosiah? We are going to now turn to chapter 21. Now, chapter 21, before we get there, has this heading: An account of the preaching of Aaron and Muloki and their brethren to the Lamanites, comprising chapters 21 through 26. This is a subheading, because remember at the beginning of chapter 17, when we started the story of the sons of Mosiah, it included chapter 17 through 26. Now we get this other kind of subheading, so we had the first part was Ammon, now we're going to get the rest of them. So we're going to now read in chapter 21, but we're only going to read enough to bring us up to the story of Ammon, so we're going to read verses 1 through 13. Aaron teaches the Amalekites about Christ and His Atonement. Aaron and his brethren are imprisoned in Middoni. After their deliverance, they teach in the synagogues and make many converts. Lamoni grants religious freedom to the people in the land of Ishmael. Now when Ammon and his brethren separated themselves in the borders of the land of the Lamanites, behold, Aaron took his journey toward the land which was called by the Lamanites Jerusalem, calling it after the land of their fathers' nativity. And it was a way joining the borders of Mormon. Now the Lamanites and the Amalekites and the people of Amulon had built a great city, which was called Jerusalem. Now the Lamanites of themselves were sufficiently hardened, but the Amalekites and the Amalonites were still harder. Therefore they did cause the Lamanites that they should harden their hearts, that they should wax strong in wickedness and their abominations. And it came to pass that Aaron came to the city of Jerusalem, and first began to preach to the Amalekites, and he began to preach to them in their synagogues, for they had built synagogues after the order of the Nehors. For many of the Amalekites and the Amalonites were after the order of the Nehors. Therefore, as Aaron entered into one of their synagogues to preach unto the people, and as he was speaking unto them, behold, there arose an Amalekite, and began to contend with him, saying, What is that thou hast testified? Hast thou seen an angel? Why do not angels appear unto us? Behold, are not this people as good as thy people? Thou also sayest, Except we repent, we shall perish. How knowest thou the thought and intent of our hearts? How knowest thou that we have cause to repent? How knowest thou that we are not a righteous people? Behold, we have built sanctuaries, and we do assemble ourselves together to worship God. We do believe that God will save all men. Now Aaron said unto him, Believest thou that the Son of God shall come to redeem mankind from their sins? And the man said unto him, We do not believe that thou knowest any such thing. We do not believe in these foolish traditions. We do not believe that thou knowest of things to come. Neither do we believe that thy fathers and also that our fathers did know concerning the things which they spake of that which is to come. Now Aaron began to open the scriptures unto them concerning the coming of Christ, and also concerning the resurrection of the dead, and that there could be no redemption for mankind, save it were through the death and sufferings of Christ and the atonement of his blood. And it came to pass, as he began to expound these things unto them, they were angry with him, and began to mock him, and they would not hear the words which he spake. Therefore, when he saw that they would not hear his words, he departed out of their synagogue, and came over to a village which was called Aniantai. And there he found Muloki, preaching the word unto them, and also Alma, and his brethren. And they contended with many about the word. And it came to pass that they saw that the people would harden their hearts, therefore they departed, and came over into the land of Middoni. And they did preach the word unto many, and few believed on the words which they taught. Nevertheless, Aaron and a certain number of his brethren were taken and cast into prison, and the remainder of them fled out of the land of Middoni unto the regions round about. That's where we're going to leave it here. These are the travels primarily of Aaron, although we do get a little bit about the others. Now the four sons of Mosiah are Ammon, Aaron, Omner, and Himni. Now we are hearing about Muloki and Alma. These are the other two men that came down with the sons of Mosiah. There were 6 of them total. At least 6. There might have been more, but there are 6 that we have names for. Aaron tries to teach the Amalekites and the Amulonites. Now we know who the Amulonites are. They're the descendants of the priests of Noah, because Amulon was the leader of those priests. Their people became known as the Amulonites. Who are the Amalekites? They just kind of appear in the record at this time. Don't really hear anything else about them. We don't know what their history is in any way. The only other Amalekite that I can think of was the last recorder on the small plates of Nephi in the book of Alma. So they couldn't be his descendants because he had no children. So who are they? We can only speculate. And there are 2 speculations. One, that when the Lamanites came up and conquered the Nephites at the time of Mosiah I, when Mosiah I flees and finds Zarahemla, the Lamanites conquer the remaining Nephites. And the theory is that they didn't kill all the Nephites. And some of the Nephites became subject to the Lamanites and they became the Amalekites. The other theory is that during the reign of Mosiah, Benjamin, and Mosiah, we do have mention of dissensions from the church. Now some of those dissensions were just people leaving the church but staying Nephite. But there's also very much likely some of them were defecting down to the Lamanites. Now it also states that these guys were of the order of Nehor. Nehor lived in Zarahemla. That is where he preached. That is where he set up his churches. So if these guys are of the order of Nehor, I mean, there's the chance that we're just calling them Nehors because they teach the same doctrine. But I think it is more likely that these were followers of Nehor, or had the same doctrine, and they came down, they descended down to the Lamanites while Nehor was still preaching before he got executed. Because remember, Nehor, he didn't start preaching and get executed in the same year. He was preaching for a long time. And so the Amalekites, there are some dissenters from the Nephites who bring the doctrine of Nehor down to the Lamanites. And the Nephites who are staying with the Lamanites embrace this doctrine and set up their churches after the order of Nehor. Remember, the Amalekites and the Ammonites are both Nephite groups living among the Lamanites. Remember, the Ammonites and the Amalekites are both Nephite groups living among the Lamanites. And they have their own churches, they've got their own orders and everything. They still have some semblance of religion among them, but it's all false, it is all corrupted. But it is more of a religion than what the Lamanites have. And so the land of Jerusalem is where these people are starting to congregate. They built their city. It says Lamanites, Amalekites, and Ammonites built the city of Jerusalem. I think they built it as a place for these Nephite dissenters to live, so they were not mixing with the Lamanites. Because the Lamanites hate the Nephites in general. So while they welcome these dissenters down and let them set up their own city, they don't want to be mixing together with them too much. But that's where we leave this. This is Aaron and several of the others are imprisoned in Middoni. The rest are hiding out in the wilderness. Now we turn back to chapter 20, and I will see you there.